Stalingrad. Major battle in the Eastern Front, World War II. Beginning when Nazi Germany and its Axis allies attacked and became locked in a protracted struggle with the Soviet Union for control over the Soviet city of Stalingrad, now known as Volgograd in southern Russia. The battle was characterized by fierce close-quarter combat, direct assaults on civilians, and aerial raids. The battle epitomized urban warfare, and it was the single largest and costliest urban battle in military history. It was the bloodiest and fiercest battle of the entirety of World War II, and arguably of all of human history, as both sides suffered tremendous casualties amidst ferocious fighting in and around the city. One of these brave Soviet soldiers, who needs no true introduction, Vasily Zaitsev, a Soviet sniper who served in World War II. He's been portrayed in movies, having had over 260 confirmed kills, estimated 400, fought in the Battle of Stalingrad, armed with a Mosin, and it changed his life forever. Zaitsev was born in Yelenskoy, Orenburg, a governorate in a Russian peasant family, and grew up in the rural mountains, where he learned marksmanship by hunting deer, wolves with his grandfather and older brother. He brought home his first trophy at the age of 12, a wolf that had killed with a single shot from his first gun. Single-shot 20-gauge shotgun. In 1930, Zaitsev graduated from construction college in the city of Magnitogorsk, where he received specialty fitter. He also studied accounting. Back in 1937, Zaitsev served in the Pacific Fleet, where he was a clerk for the artillery department, serving in the Soviet Navy as a clerk. In Vladivostok, when Germany invaded the Soviet Union in Operation Barbarossa. Like many of his comrades, he volunteered for transfer to the front line. He attained the rank of Chief Petty Officer in the Navy, but was assigned the rank of Senior Warrant Officer upon transfer to the Army. He was assigned to the 1047th Rifle Regiment of the 248th Tomsk Rifle Division, which became part of the 62nd Army of Stalingrad on September of 1942. World War II. More than 3.8 million Axis troops invaded the Western Soviet Union along a 2,900-kilometer front, with the main goal of capturing territory up to a line between Argenschleck and Astrakhan, known as the AA Line. The attack became the largest and costliest military offensive in human history, with around 10 million combatants taking part in the opening phase and over 8 million casualties by the end of the operation. On December 5th of 1941, it marked a major escalation of World War II. It opened the Eastern Front in the largest and deadliest land war in history, and brought the Soviet Union into the Allied powers. The operation, codenamed after the Holy and Roman Emperor Frederick Barbarossa, put into action Nazi Germany's ideological goals of eradicating communism and conquering the Western Soviet Union to repopulate it with Germans under General Plan Ost, which planned for the removal of the native Slavic peoples by mass deportation to Siberia and Germanization, enslavement, and genocide. The invasion were the agriculture and mineral resources of territories such as Ukraine and Belarus, the oil fields of the Caucasus. The Axis eventually captured 5 million Soviet Red Army troops on the Eastern Front and deliberately starved to death, or otherwise killed 3.3 million prisoners of war, as well as millions of civilians. Mass shootings, gassing operations carried out by German paramilitary death squads and collaborators murdered over 1 million Soviet Jews as part of the Holocaust. In the 2 years leading up to the invasion, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union signed political and economic pacts for strategic purposes following the Soviet occupation of Bessarabia and northern Bukovina in 1940. The German High Command began planning an invasion of the country, which was approved by Adolf Hitler in December. In 1941, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, despite receiving the intelligence about an imminent attack, did not order a mobilization of the Red Army, fearing that it might provoke Germany. As a result, Soviet forces were largely caught unprepared when the invasion began, with many units positioned poorly and under strength. Despite the rapid relocation of the Red Army armaments, production east of the Urals, and the dramatic increase of production in 1942, especially of armor, new aircraft types, and artillery, the Heer was able to mount large-scale offensives in June of 1942. Although on a much reduced front than the previous summer, Hitler, having realized Germany's oil supply was severely depleted, attempted to utilize Army Group South to capture the oil fields of Baku in the new offensive, codenamed Case Blue. Again, the Germans quickly overran great expanses of Soviet territory, but they failed to achieve their ultimate goal of the oil fields of Baku, culminating in their disastrous defeat in the Battle of Stalingrad. And this is the story. Vasily Zaitsev, the Battle of Stalingrad's most celebrated sniper. He'd been quoted, "Observing enemy behavior is my passion. You see a pompous and self-important fascist officer coming out of a dugout and imperiously bossing his men around. They strictly obey his will, his wishes, and his whims. But he doesn't know that he has literally seconds to live."
Comrade General, for us there is no land beyond the Volga.
Zaitsev notched up 242 enemy soldiers and officer kills. He was not the most deadly sniper of World War II, but he was definitely the most celebrated sniper in the Battle of Stalingrad. After being sent to the front lines, his marksmanship was quickly spotted. A group of soldiers were at their positions when two Germans appeared in front of them. I brought up my rifle and almost without aiming fired. Fritz tells a few seconds later a second one appeared. I dispatched them too, Zaitsev recalled. The regimental commander who had witnessed the scene immediately gave orders for Zaitsev to be issued with a sniper rifle with an optical sight. Zaitsev had excellent eyesight, hearing, endurance, iron self-possession, and composure. He was rapidly promoted into the circle of the best snipers in Stalingrad. Zaitsev constantly honed his skills, studied enemy tactics, worked out his own rules, and at the same time was unafraid of improv. On getting to the edge of the battle area, camouflage, lie, stock still, and observe. Study the terrain, compile a diagram, and mark notable features on the drawing. His fieldcraft helped him survive. He tried not to operate in the sun setting. As it dipped towards the horizon, the sun could become reflected in a sniper's optical sight, betraying that position. The morning sun, however, glinted in the binoculars of German officers and spotters and the sights of enemy sniper rifles everywhere. If at dawn, for instance, you see the reflected flash of a lighter, it alerts you that as a sniper, you'll get lit up. Get a fix on that spot and wait. Propaganda was huge, especially with the Bolshevik Revolution beforehand leading up to Stalin. Soviet artists designed numerous posters addressing the ongoing campaigns, such as the Battle of Stalingrad. Most notable, the satirical depiction of Germany's fanatical devotion to Hitler's enormously destructive military tactics. Captain Vasily Zaitsev, being the pro sniper, was a big part of the propaganda machine as well to boost morale. There was a fictional duel between him and another German sniper, which they had portrayed in the film Enemy at the Gates. However, it wasn't the same major that they thought. However, the Soviet Union, to boost morale, boasted and bumped this up even more to make him even bigger national hero. In a deadly game of hunting snipers in the course of the fighting in Stalingrad, Zaitsev eliminated 11 enemy snipers. I had already learned to rapidly distinguish the handwriting of the fascist snipers, and by assessing their firing style and methods of camouflage, I had no particular trouble telling the more experienced riflemen from the novices and the faint-hearted from the dogged and determined ones. The duel between Zaitsev and Major Koenig had become particularly famous. The German sharpshooter was sent to Stalingrad to eliminate the little hairs, which is the sniper platoon Vasily was in. Between the two master marksmen was portrayed. The identity of Koenig has been queried by historians. According to one account, the name could have been an alias for an SS Standartenführer Heinz Thorwald, the head of a sniper school in the town of Zosen. Koenig Thorwald succeeded in eliminating several Soviet snipers, after which he took on Zaitsev. A spotter by the name of Nikolai Kulikov managed to lure the German out of his concealment. Very cautiously, as one of the experienced snipers would do, Kulikov raised the helmet. Zaitsev recalled the German out of his concealment. Very cautiously, as one of the experienced snipers would do, Kulikov raised the helmet. Zaitsev recalled. The fascist fired. Kulikov jerked slightly upwards for a second, gave a loud cry, and fell back. At long last, the Soviet sniper, the chief hare had been stalking for days, was dead. This is undoubtedly going through the German's mind as he struck the top of the head out from behind an iron sheet. I fired. The fascist's head fell back, while his rifle's optical sight remained glinting in the sun. And as soon as it was dark, the Soviet troops in the sector carried out a night sortie at the height of the fighting. Zaitsev and his companion dragged the dead major out from under the iron sheet, located his papers, and delivered them to the divisional commander. Zaitsev fought at the Battle of Stalingrad until January of 1943, when a mortar attack injured his eye. Some conflicting stories state it was a landmine. Zaitsev not been injured by the landmine, and the ophthalmologist would not have been able to treat him for the injury. He was up to 225 kills in the Battle of Stalingrad alone. February 22nd, 1943, Battle of Stalingrad was over, and Zaitsev was awarded Hero of the Soviet Union. Zaitsev recruited and trained other marksmen during his service in Stalingrad. He returned to the front and finished the war at the Battle of the Seelow Heights in Germany with the rank of captain. Became a member of the All-Union Communist Party, Bolsheviks, in 1943. Zaitsev was decorated with Hero of the Soviet Union, 4 Orders of Lenin, 2 Orders of the Red Banner, Order of the Patriotic War First Class, 1 Medal for Courage, Honorary Citizen, and the Hero of Volgograd, which was Stalingrad.